Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is at FeelThePaynePW, or Nick Payne if you prefer, and you're watching my 21st episode now on my team career on F1 2020. And if you haven't checked out my last episodes, then please go do so now. My last race, of course, was at the Mexico Grand Prix, where it was quite a very interesting race. We had mass grid penalties, so we had to start in P22, dead last on the grid, and make our way through the whole entirety of the grid up through the race. We actually made quite a lot of overtakes, as you can see there. We made 9 overtakes into turn 1, and then an extra 2 into turn 3. And some quite nice overtakes, just like I did a double overtake on Verstappen and Perez through the race. But it got to a point where I was actually challenging Leclerc for P1. I did win that battle, and I did go from P22 on the grid all the way through, overtaking every single person to win the race and finish in P1. So a great result for us, obviously, and a great drive from myself as we come through for the next race weekend. And we've actually got the chance to either renew or change our sponsors due to obviously their contracts expiring. We are going to renew them. We're going to renew all the contracts, and as you can see, we've got the activities now in front of us that we can fill up and try getting a bit more from. We're going to use the power department focus to get more R&D points and morale, and then just get as much morale from the team building and the funded team event as possible, just to keep everyone all happy. And we're actually going to get like some upgrades, the final upgrade of the season for the power unit, and then finish off the regulation adaptations that we need to update in the durability, as we've already done all the aero updates as well. So yeah, that's a great sort of start to the video. And obviously, as we skim on through, we're going to the Brazil Grand Prix, another favourite of mine, due to obviously playing on it, as it used to be quite an early race in the calendar, but now it's near the end, and we can see how we go on in qualifying. So, sunny skies here in Sao Paulo in the Brazilian Grand Prix in qualified, as we come out for our first qualifying lap in Q1, of course, as we sort of cut the corner at turn 2 a bit, go over the curbing, but thankfully we get a good exit and get into the DRS zone as quickly as possible, hoping to get as much pace down these straights as possible. Turn the car in to the left, make full use of the track, keeping it as wide as possible, run over the curb a slight bit as we go into turn 6, and this is where you sort of just let off the throttle, and then once you get round the corner, you go full pounce onto it to make full use of the track. Slow the car around into turn 7 and 8, and to be honest, with this track, it's a very fast sector 1 and a very fast sector 3, but this sort of part, the sector 2, very technical, and you need to make sure you take care through those corners. But as you can see, now we're into sector 3. It is the very fast, and it's just long straight the whole way through. No real corners or challenging corners, should we say, because you could say that's a corner, but it is flat out through here as we go across the line. And we actually go P5 in the first qualifying lap. We don't go out for a second one. We keep that as our lap to save the tyres, and we do go through in P6, so we do drop down a position, but still we go through regardless into Q2. As you can see, we go out for our first lap, and when we go across the line, we actually go across the line in pole position in P1. So a good little result there for us. We don't go out for a second lap to conserve the tyres once again. We do drop down to P2, which ain't the biggest worry in the world, considering obviously it's P2. Jack Aiken can't get through to Q3, finishing in 15th. But as we go across the line in Q3 for our first flying lap, we go P2, so a good started lap, and then in our second lap we go fastest to the sector 2 and sector 1, 7 tenths quicker in our lap, and we actually go into pole position, our second ever pole position of the season and in our career, of course. Now let's see if we can convert that pole into a win.
Welcome along then to the place where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the final corner. And it's the place, a year later, that Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's Interlagos, and it's time for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. But it's a wet one today, so grip and visibility will be at a premium. And the drivers will need to be careful coming up the hill in Sector 3, the scene of many an accident over the years. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. And thanks for joining us, Ant. And tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, the surface looks clean enough, but I'm a little bit worried about the track temperature. It's pretty cool out there, which could give some teams difficulties when it comes to keeping their tyres in the right operating window. The cars out there that work their tyres hard and really put a lot of energy through them, they'll be the ones that are better off.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. The rookie lines up on pole position with Charles Leclerc alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Vettel, Sainz, Sergio Perez, and Norris, Gasly, Bottas, Hamilton, and Antonio Giovinazzi, Verstappen, Raikkonen, Daniel Ricciardo. They've taken a grid penalty, and Stroll, Albon, Russell, Kevin Magnussen, and Daniel Kvyat, Aitken, Ocon, Grosjean, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
As you can see from the weather, it's very wet. It's going to be intermediate tyre weather, unfortunately, so that is a little bit of a spanner in the works, to say the least, considering I'd rather have done the race in the dry, because obviously that's what we were doing in the qualifying in. But as you can see, we've been given the choice of 2 strategies, whether it's going to be the either 1-stop or the 2-stop. To be honest, I don't know what to choose. We're going to overfuel the car just to get as much fuel down those straights as possible. But to be honest, considering what happened in Canada, I don't know whether it's a good idea to go with a 2-stop, considering we got the puncture. But then again, it may just be completely different here, and the tracks are 2 completely different tracks. Canada's more flat out the whole way through, so we are going to go with the 1-stop strategy. And obviously, if it does feel that we need to come in, and we're not going to let it get to 100 this time, as we go to 5 red lights, and we're underway now as we get a good start in the wet weather tyres in the intermediates, and we actually lead into P1, into turn 1. So great start from us. Hopefully we can build a gap now with the clean air over Leclerc and Vettel, the 2 Ferraris behind us, as we're going down what would be the DRS back straight. Unfortunately no DRS, obviously due to the weather, but we've gone deep at turn 4, and that's gone slow, and Leclerc's gone down the inside. Not the start we wanted, and it's very hard to overtake in the rain due to the spit. And Vettel's actually going to try down the inside of turn 6 and into turn 7. We've got to give him the room, a little bit of contact, barging with the side pods, but we're still maintaining P2. But I'm afraid that that's actually allowed Leclerc to push on with the clean air through sector 2, what we are quite quick through. And that's going to be unfortunate for us, as Leclerc's just going to be able to pull away from us now with that clean air. We're obviously in his slipstream, going through each corner, getting kicks of the puddles, getting kicked up into our face, into our visor. So it's going to make it very hard to actually have any visibility as we go through and cross the line, down a position into P2 now, as Leclerc obviously setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. As we're just trying to stick with him, see if we can make a move into turn 4, regain our position. Can we make a quick move here? Trying to get back into where we should be. If we didn't make that mistake, of course. And we're just going to sail it, brake late, and try to sail it around the outside. But unfortunately, we couldn't get the traction, couldn't get the grip in time. And we have to settle for P2. As we come through on lap 4, of course. and we're still behind Leclerc, still in P2. We can't actually get anywhere near him, to be honest. We go fastest in Sector 2. We're quick through Sector 2, but down this main straight, or the back straight and the main straight, he's just so quick through Sector 1 and 3. He just pulls away with that clean air. He's obviously nothing in front of him. We're getting all the water kicked up into our face, but we do go fastest in Sector 3 and fastest lap overall so far. But we just got to try and keep him with Leclerc and hopefully overtaking him through the Sector 2. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen at the moment as we're on lap 9 and we're still stuck behind Leclerc. We are pulling a gap to Vettel behind us. So me and Leclerc are in a world of our own at the moment. But we've got to try keeping with Leclerc. But he's just so quick down these straights. There's nothing we can do. We have to build the gap back up through the Sector 2. When if we were near, like side by side with him into Sector 2, I do think we'd make the overtake and get back into P1. But the fact that we have to build the gap after he extends it, or like close the gap, shall I say, after he extends it. That's what our problem is as we come through on lap 11, and we're actually very close to Leclerc now at the end of Sector 2. And we're going to like brake very late here just to stay very close to him. And we're right on the tail of Leclerc going out to turn 12. And we're on the back straight, or the main straight, shall I say, of the pit wall onto Sector 3. And we're going to look to make a move here. This is the only chance we've had so far as we go fastest through Sector 3. Can we make a dive down the inside as he's going to be turning in? We slow the car down and we slide across the curb, and actually Leclerc is pulled away now, and that has done dramatic effects to us as we're trying to stay with him, and he's just pulled away now to over a second gap, which is going to be hard to close down through Sector 2. And as you can see, it's 1.7 second gap now, so we do try something different. We try coming into the pits as we slide through the pit wall. Nearly catastrophic there as we nearly ended our race in the pit lane. But we do try something different here. We're going to pit on lap 12, a few laps prior to when we were scheduled to pit, and hopefully the two-stop strategy here may get us into a position where we can get back in front of Leclerc with the faster tyre and the newer tyre. Don't forget we pitted in P2, and we're going to come out what looks like a P10. Yep, we're going to come out in P10 just behind Max Verstappen and just in front of Kimi Raikkonen now. Can we make these tyres any work, or make them work? As we've got Max Verstappen up in front of us. Max Verstappen just in front. Can we make a move here on Max Verstappen as we're about to head at the end of Sector 2 into Sector 3? Can we make a dive here as we're very close to him? We need to make clear cut, quick overtakes here as we make the dive down the inside at turn 12. We've got Hamilton up next as we go fastest through Sector 1. We've got Hamilton next, and we're just going to do the exact same thing just as we did to Verstappen. We're going to dive down the inside of turn 12, and that's another move done as we go red through Sector 2, but not to worry as we're up another place now. We've got Gasly up ahead, currently in P8, and we're just trying to make a move here, and we're going to look to make the move earlier than we did on Hamilton. We're actually going to make the move a lot earlier as we're going to make the move just before turn 12. It's going to be through into the turn 7 and turn 9, no, turn 9 and turn 10, and we're up another place into P7 as we've got Lando Norris up ahead here, and we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as Perez and Vettel and Sainz have all pit as we make contact with Norris. A little bit of damage to our front wing, but most importantly we've lost out on a lot of time there where we could have just carried on gaining and gaining, but thankfully it's not too much damage at the end of the day. But as we come through at the end of lap 19, Norris is pitted, so is Bottas, so is Leclerc actually, so we may have a chance at getting back in front of the Ferrari driver here. Can we make a move here on the Ferrari driver is to cut the corner at turn 2 slightly, and we're going to come out just in front of Leclerc as he's just coming out of the pit wall. But don't forget he's got a fresh pair of intermediate tyres. We've obviously pitted 8 laps ago for the tyres that we're on, so we do need to pull them away and pull a gap now onto Leclerc. But as we come through on lap 22, and we can't actually pull a gap on Leclerc, he's sticking with us, sticking to our gearbox, and there's nothing we can really do. But as you can see, the front left tyre is 29% at the moment. So the tyres do look good. As Leclerc does make a dive down the inside, we do go round, give him the room down the inside, but we do go round on the outside, turn into the inside, and we keep the position now here on lap 23. But the tyres are still looking good for the time being. As we come across the line to start lap 24, our chief engineer wants us to box this lap, but considering our tyres were 29% at the end of last lap, but they're up to 32% this lap, so it's a gain of 3%. If we keep the same pace, and being the fact that there's only 12 laps left, that would mean, by theory, that the tyres would get 36% worse, which would end on 68%. So I do think these tyres could be able to go to the end if I just keep the same pace and keep the same structure as I have done. I mean, we haven't come into the pits, so we're sort of stuck to the strategy that I've decided to go for. If it goes correctly, then I think we'll win. If it doesn't, then I think we'll finish outside the points. So, as we slide a bit onto turn 1, which is actually going to make us slow through the rest of the back straight here, we're going to have to use as much overtake as possible just to defend against Charles Leclerc now. Leclerc is gaining, but we are going to stay in front into P1. And I think the clean air is just going to be the thing that's going to keep us ahead down these straights, as we're still in front. But Leclerc is trying to make a move down on the outside of turn 6. We're going to stay in front down on the inside of turn 6, and thankfully we fight another day, but we've still got a lot of work to do as there's still 8 laps to go. As we're on to lap 29, Leclerc is still with us, still battling, and Sebastian Vettel is still coming at a rate of knots as we go deep into turn 8, and that actually allows Leclerc around the outside. He can't actually get fully round as we go through the corner, but Vettel is right on the tail of Leclerc now, so the gap that was about 9 seconds is now down to less than a second to third place. So we do have to struggle through the rest of this race, as Sainz is now joining into the party, who's up into P4, tried to make a look to see if he can get onto the podium by overtaking one of the Ferraris, but we're just having to keep the Ferraris at bay for the time being and just push on the straights as hard as we can with rich mix, with overtakers as well. No DRS, of course, due to the weather, and that's what we're doing. We're keeping the tyres at bay, and as you can see, the tyres are at 53% on the left front tyre now. That's what I'm basing it off, and we're still in P1, and it's lap 33 now, and we're still going in P1. We've still got the tyres going strong, but don't forget their tyres are really brand new compared to mine. My tyres are 8 laps older than theirs, as Leclerc's looking to make a move down the outside. We squeeze him very tight to the wall, but clean enough, and he switches back on us as he goes round the outside, and which turns to our inside, but we do make contact with our side pod with our front wing, so we do get a little bit more damage, I think. But we're still in front, which is the main thing. That's all we need to do, as the tyres are starting to go off. Can we stay in front for the rest of the race? As we're still in front, and it's lap 35, ending lap 35, so it's the final lap of the Grand Prix. I can't believe this strategy has worked so well so far. And as you can see from the timesheet to the top right corner, Vettel and Leclerc keep trading places. So them two are fighting over second and third place, which is just going to allow us to push on and push away from the Ferraris now, making it even more certain as we come round the final corner to see the checkered flag in P1 with a great strategy, a great drive, and what a drive from myself, if I do say myself. That was unbelievable. I cannot believe how well I drove there to manage the tyres so well. I get driver of the day as well, even though I started in P1. Great result for us, and I cannot believe what I just achieved.
We've witnessed some great battles around the historic curves of Interlagos today, and they've taken a fantastic win. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
It's a heroic effort for any driver to race in conditions like these, and seeing them fight their way to the front was very special indeed. They were able to find all the grip, all the good lines, and have the confidence to get on the power to top it all off. That's what pushed them into first place here today.
The faces on our top three look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
And I can't believe how good of a drive that was, to be honest, to manage the tyres so well, considering I dropped down to P2, and as you can hear from Anthony Davidson, he says that I managed the tyres that well, and that's the reason I got driver of the day. I do think that was a better drive than my last race, and even though on the last race I went from P22 to P1, which is impressive on its own feet, I do think that was a better drive because I had to do a lot. It was a lot harder work to go stay in P1 than it was to go to P1, as we stay and confirm P6 in the World Drivers' Championship, and we confirm P4 in the Constructors, so we can't go up, we can't go down. That is where we're stuck. And if you have enjoyed this video, please slap a like on it. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Any thoughts, please comment them down below. I've been at FeelThePaynePW. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.